Hey everyone, happy Monday everyone. Welcome to our live video. As I told you last Friday, I guess.
Yeah.
We went live and I told you that I'm going to interview Rozel this Monday at 12 p.m., where we're going to talk about the entrepreneurial journey, and all the things that entrepreneurs go through. And I really want Rozel to share with us your journey and tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. So thanks so much for having me on your show, Alex. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I'm gonna try my. So my name is Rozel Gonzales, and I'm the owner of the Energie EnCorps Wellness Center in Pointe Claire. And we've been in business for 6 years now, and we specialize in yoga and fitness and holistic health. But I guess I think what's important to know is sort of like the values and our mission behind it. And it's really to help people to shine. And, yoga and fitness is my way of doing that. But basically, what makes me happy is to help other people, you know, transform and feel good about themselves and to see the person who, is just taking better care of themselves and feeling good about themselves. It's very rewarding. And it's, I guess, what keeps me coming to the studio every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So could you tell us, please? I know the story, but I want you to share with other people. How did this start, and why did this start? Why did you open your yoga studio?
Yeah. Well, I've been involved in fitness for ever since I was, a kid. And I started to teach fitness, an aerobics instructor back in the day, they called it, when I was in university. I'm starting to age myself, but back in university. And it was something that I loved to do. It gave me balance because I was in business school at the time, and teaching classes was a great way for me to be able to study and to work and to be fit at the same time. Because even back then, this balance of mind and body was always of utmost importance to me. Um, I finished university and I was working full time, and I always continued to teach classes on the side. And then, I was working in the corporate world. I at the time I had, two kids, then three kids, and we just really, my husband and I decided that we wanted to, put our energy into the things that we really loved, what we really, really loved to do. And we took a big risk. We decided to, cut the ties from our corporate life and to make a big change, and it's been 6 years now. And, being an entrepreneur, as you know, Alex, is it's a struggle at the beginning. It's not easy leaving a very cushy corporate job and, just really being responsible for driving your livelihood, for driving, your success. It takes a lot more discipline. Um, but at the end of the day, it's something that is extremely rewarding, and I'm very proud of the things that we've done. And over the course of the 6 years, we have a great community, a great team that I'm very, very. I really look forward to going to quote unquote work every day. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And as you mentioned, that when you become an entrepreneur and a business owner, you're responsible not only for yourself, since you already have a team. You're also responsible for those people and make sure that those people have a job.
Yeah. It's definitely a responsibility. I take it very, very seriously. I'm someone who really believes that, you know, Energie EnCorps is much more than just, the types of classes that we teach. It's the vibe. People always tell us that when they walk in, that they love the energy, they love the feeling that they get, and that is something that cannot be, um, it's not easy to recreate that. It's um, the personalities. It's the dynamics between the different people, and I think that happens if there is respect, if there is, this, I don't know, this type of the values are there to help one another to grow. And it's really a collaborative environment. Coming from the corporate world, sometimes it's kind of the opposite of that. Sometimes it's very, um, cutthroat or, you know,
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
very competitive to the point that it's, you know, damaging. So
yeah,
it's the type of environment that I no longer wanted to be part of. So um, I take a great responsibility in choosing the people that I think are going to be a good fit, that share the same values, and who are truly, truly doing what they do because they're passionate about it, that they're very good at it as well, but that they're really there because they want to help other people. It has to be genuine. It has to be authentic for me.
that's exactly what you mean. Because when I came to your studio, it feels like home. You do have that feeling, and it's hard to create that energy and buzz. It takes a lot of energy to create that. Because
Mhm.
I teach Taekwondo once a week, and it also it's been a year and a half as we're teaching it. We still have about 6 or 7 people that are coming back from the first semesters they started with us, and it's hard to build a team and to build a kind of a family, having a small family. Plus,
Absolutely.
on top of that, I know that you're big on community.
Yes, absolutely. The community is everything. And I think that that is sort of what, being in the fitness business, there's other, one thing I would like to say is that we're not a gym. Sometimes,
Yes.
yeah, we're not a gym.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of different choices out there, right? There's there's like the gym environment, the big box environment. There's like these smaller gyms. There's yoga studios. There's clinics because we kind of created a niche because we do yoga and fitness and
Mhm.
all of the holistic health services, osteopathy, massage therapy, nutrition, those types of things. But what I think, while there are many other options out there, as I mentioned, what will be hard to recreate is the vibe that we have. And I think that that is part of our that's part of our package, right? That's part of the beauty of coming there. It's because they feel like the people that come in there, we know their names, we know, their bodies, we know where their bobos are, we know, what's going on in their lives. So it's not easy to recreate that, and somehow it magically happened. And when it's something that's like an intangible thing like that, I think that that is that's speaking business terms, that's like the value proposition. That's like, something that I think is specific to us, that I can say that this is something that sets us apart. You know, makes me feel that yeah, like we have something really special to offer.
Yeah, you do have something bigger than just numbers.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a lot of gyms they just care about numbers.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Um, when we first started, I had been teaching fitness for a very long time already. Over 10 years, and I had already, I guess, developed a reputation in the community as a fitness instructor. And one of the best pieces of advice that I received upon opening the studio was that to not build a business solely around yourself. You know, the last thing I wanted it to be was like the Rozel Gonzales show, because when things like that happen, and I see this often in other businesses where, yoga studios or gyms, where it's like a one person show. And what happens in that environment is that, it could be like in a karate studio where everything is based around like that one sensei.
Yes.
And when that person gets hurt or goes on vacation, while the attendance really dives down, and it's really dependent on one person. So right from the get-go, I decided that, it might be a little bit slower, but I'm going to build a team. I'm going to build a team, and I'm going to train my teachers. And that's another thing that's really nice about our studio, is that all of the yoga teachers, so we're a yoga teacher training school. So all of the teachers that teach at Energie EnCorps are trained in-house. And there's also when it's done that way, the people who stick around, the people who are teaching with me or for me, they also share the same values, and that really contributes to the community feel as well.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. You just mentioned, well, I know that you have yoga teacher course. Can people I just thought about it now. Do people have to be physically there, or they can do it online?
Oh my gosh, no.
No?
So online, no, that's
Well, because I'm all about digital marketing, right?
oh yeah, no,
Marketing hooks, and yeah, so I'm just
no.
curious.
So that's one thing. Yes, people can get certified online to be a yoga teacher, but we're really about the personal connection. Um, I like to tell my teachers that the way that you learn how to teach is by touching a lot of bodies. You have to like. It sounds funny, but after a while, and we're very hands-on. So after a while, you can just touch someone and you can sort of feel where they have resistance in their body. You can see where the knots are, and you can see where the blockages are in their body, and you'll be able to assess, how much to adjust or how little to adjust. And that's something that can only be done, hands-on. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good to know.
But I do think that there are some parts of our business that potentially, there are areas in which things can be done online, because I know that's sort of the movement. And the things that I think that could potentially be done online are things like maybe like nutritional consultations, or some of the workshops that we do that are more lecture type workshops. So something to think about going forward for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially in case with nutritional consultation, that would help a lot.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
people do not need to drive back and forth.
Yeah, and
As
what's funny is that with nutrition is a little bit difficult because, for example, if you want to come for a massage, it's because you want to feel good, right?
yes,
But sometimes, but we've really changed our approach over the years, because we noticed that a lot of the times people would have all of this guilt on them, and they would cancel their nutrition appointments because they felt like, oh well, they didn't do what they were supposed to do over the last week before they get their next appointment. But we really
mhm,
changed our approach, such that meeting with our nutritionist is really part of the process to help them, just even if they weren't able to make the adjustments that they were supposed to make, or witness certain things, that it's all part of the process. So those types of things I think could be done eventually online. Yeah.
all right, well, that's good to know. Well, since we're talking about the podcast, which is Marketing Hoax, and the name of the group is the Power of Digital Marketing,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, what has been your most effective marketing tactic or technique that helped you business to the next level?
Mm. I think that what helped me the most is that we're very, I guess, we're very strong on social media. We use it a lot. I think that the best thing is that, well, I mean, you're asking like what types of tools we use, or?
Uh, what type? Well, I guess the type of a strategy that you used where you saw the result.
All
Yeah.
right. So, a
So
little
let's
while
say if
ago,
somebody,
yeah, I went to go
yeah,
see
go on, go
Nicole Fortunasso, actually. So I'm putting a little shout out there for Nicole Fortunasso,
on.
who is, she actually works for me now. She's she's on our team. She's a Reiki practitioner, but her
Nice.
other job is a marketing consultant. And what she told me is that we had to build a community online. And in order to build a community online, it's not about, simply, it's a mixture of letting people know, obviously, we're a business, right? So what we have to offer, classes, workshops, trainings, that type of thing. But you want to have people to continue to come back, not just for what you're selling, but because they like the content that you have on your site. So if you go to our Facebook page, you will notice that we do a lot of inspirational quotes, funny videos, behind the scenes photos of the different classes or trainings, or we try to tell the story of the people that work there, so that even online, the people who are following us feel like they're part of our community. And what's interesting is that you know, we have something like over almost 12,000 followers on Facebook right
Oh, that's
now,
awesome.
and a lot of those people, it's actually something I have to fix too, but in a way, because we have a lot of people who are following us that are actually not just from Montreal as well. So the content that we have is interesting for people that are not local.
Hmm.
So that's interesting, and it's as a business person, you're like, oh, like that's interesting. Why is this person in Spain or in Mexico? Like, what is it that they like about Energie EnCorps? Like, some people are always liking and following, and but obviously we're a local business. Perhaps how that might help me in the future is if we,
Yes.
you know, things that are like something that I do want to get into eventually is trainings outside of the country, retreats outside. So maybe that will help me later on. But there's so much to think about when you're a business owner. Hmm. Can't
That
tackle
is so
everything
true.
all at once. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, page. I'm gonna add the link over here so you guys can go to the page, check it out, learn more about the business, and if you're interested, just reach out to Rozel.
One thing I would
And
say, what has helped us
yeah,
a lot, um, like our own clients are so key in sharing and tagging and being proud of the things that they participate in too. So if we have, I don't know, a class, an event, like my own students, our own clients are sharing and tagging themselves. So that is, referring us to other people. So that is a tremendous help as well.
yeah, that's a big. I guess that's a big part of word of mouth marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, since you started business 6 years ago, I'm pretty sure you went through a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask you, could you give three pieces of advice? I would say three pieces of advice that you would offer, that you would give to entrepreneurs that want to start today.
Okay, let me start with one. The
Yeah.
first one I would say is, yeah, the first thing I would say is have a business plan, right? Have a business plan and crunch your numbers, right? There's so many people that you know open up a business and like, especially like in the yoga community, or in like, let the universe help me
Mhm.
out. It's so much more than just that. It's really being on top of your numbers, being on top of your costs and your projections, and seeing things not only short term, but having like a strategic plan for where you want to go in the future. So definitely have a business plan that is including your forecasts, and revisit it. Like, go back to your numbers all the time, and do a comparison to see where you're at versus where you thought you would be, and then adjust. So your numbers, have a good accountant. Number one. Number two, I would say have a mentor. Have a mentor. It's like super important. I was super fortunate because when we first opened, you know, I worked in the corporate world, in a very sheltered corporate society, where I had, access to HR managers, legal departments, many, many different people to consult with anytime that there was an issue. And what happens is when you open up your own business, it's like me, myself, and I. So it's like you got to figure everything
Mhm.
out by yourself, right? You have to figure
Yeah.
everything out by yourself. So I was so fortunate because I'm someone who talks a lot, and in telling people about my plans, one of my one of my most helpful mentors was a neighbor of mine who was a lawyer, and he heard about my project, and he really took so much time with me, like months of like sitting down with me, looking at my lease, crossing things out on my lease, like telling me what I should be careful with and what to avoid. And, and it was a very arduous process because, for those of you who know, like I didn't have the best landlords in my first location before. So it was difficult. It was very, very difficult. And, just having someone to kind of have my back. I had someone for the lease and the legal part, and I had, fortunately, some friends of mine who had businesses as well, who, over coffee and just talking and going through scenarios and getting advice, that was so, so helpful. I am not from a family of entrepreneurs. Okay. I am not from a family of, I am from immigrant Asian family where you go to university and you get a job, and they like stability, and it's funny because that's how we are. And then both my sister and I are both, business owners, but we are not from a family where there's like many people to look up to who have tons of business experience. There are certain cultures. I was just telling this story the other day. Certain cultures where, it's just fact that, you have a business. So many of like the Chinese cultures. I went to MBA school, and many of my my fellow students, they were doing their MBA and they just couldn't wait to go back to China to open up a factory. It's like I am like way, way, way like they're opening like $1 million factories, and I'm opening up a small little like wellness center. So it's like completely different, two different worlds. But for them, it was normal because they're from a family of entrepreneurs, or Jewish families where many businesses in their family. So this was all new to me, and I didn't have anyone in my family to help me. So I had to go outwards, and if I didn't have those people to guide me and to help me, like I wouldn't be where I am today. So for that, I'm super, super grateful, super grateful. And then I have to pick number 3, right? So number 3 to me is continuous education. Continuous education, because that's it. You have to stay ahead of the pack. If you want to be a leader in what you do, you have to stay ahead of the pack. So, for myself, I mean, even the idea of the wellness center, it came from, Sebastian and I traveling and seeing different models that worked in other cities, and how we wanted to bring it here. And even the way that we set up our business in terms of all of the systems that we have, to manage. It's from going to, wellness and fitness conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always training to keep, the level of our classes and the level of my teacher trainings, ahead. So that's it, I think. So what was it? It was crunch your numbers, have a mentor, and 3, continuous education.
Yeah, personal development is extremely important. I'm doing it myself every single, I would say, day. I'm trying to read a book, not a book a day, but I'm trying to read every single day for 20, 30 minutes, and always getting all those courses and coaching and masterminds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, it's important to be up to date if you want to be the leader in your industry.
Mm-hmm. And if I could add one more, just because
Of course.
It's about finding balance. It's about finding balance because, as a entrepreneur, you can totally burn yourself out, right?
I did it once.
You totally burn yourself out. And I think that it's important to invest in your time. And, an example of that would be, as I had mentioned to you, like I chose to build a team so that I have 3 kids. I need to be home sometimes, right? So I chose to invest my time in training other people so that there was less just on me. I invested money in hiring a manager. Every year that goes by, and like I think you're doing the same thing, right, Alex? It's like instead of putting the money in your pocket, you're investing to hire another employee.
Yes.
Then you don't see the benefits right away, but it helps you to build a stronger foundation, and then you build on top of that. So we had one part-timer. Now we have 3 part-timers, and now we have a manager, and that has helped so much. So invest in your business. Go put money back in there, and you need that to grow. Otherwise, you will burn out mentally.
It's all about the long-term game. Because sometimes I'm also thinking, as you mentioned, I do invest back into the company, and sometimes money are coming in and then they're out and in and out. I'm like, I don't even see them, but I understand the importance. Yeah.
Like it's so like there's so much we could talk about.
Yeah.
Another thing would be, stand your ground, because at the beginning, I don't know about you, but at the beginning, I wasn't strong enough to, like I was trying to avoid like conflict all the time. Avoid conflict all the time, try to, make every single, let's say, customer happy, even if sometimes they're difficult customers, and, you know, um, because at the beginning you're trying to just build your clientele. But then over time, like I can give you all kinds of crazy examples of like, oh, I want a membership, but I don't have a credit card. And then, okay, well, we'll take, post-dated checks. And then, oh, please don't cash that post-dated check. Like all of these things. And I realized that all of the exceptions to the rule take a lot of time. So another thing is like to develop your standard operating procedures, develop your rules, so that the more you have exceptions, the harder it is going to be for you to delegate that job to somebody else, because they'll always say that, oh, well, this is an exception. We have to ask Rozel about this. And then you're always like, you don't have any balance because you're always like going back. So create proper procedures that can be followed by anyone. And that's going to help you to continue to build your team, right? Because
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, as you mentioned, yeah, SOP is a big part. That's what I started doing last year in summer when I took coaching. I'm actually going to the event. Guys are launching. Well, they'll have a live event at the end of February in Tampa. So I was going through the coaching, and then they helped me to build all the SOPs and to build. So basically, become the CEO of the company and take myself out instead of being a freelancer, being inside all the time.
Yeah, because what happens to many companies is that, oh, I opened up my own company, but you're like a one-person show. It's like, no, you just like bought yourself a job, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's like, just because you have an ink beside your name, or you have a company that you're billing directly, it's not any more freedom than, it might even be more, right? More pressure than if you were to work in a company where, in a company you can have like a slack a day and just, say, today I'm going to take it easy. But, if you do that and it's your company, like you have to make sure that there's, continuous customers revenue coming through so that, you can live, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it gets really tough and you're like, oh, I'm tired. I really want to take a break. And it is important to take that break.
Exactly. So yeah, the time and the time to recuperate is extremely important, because like I think that I have a lot of customers like that who come to Energie EnCorps because they're burnt out, and I try my best to to be a good role model about finding that balance. Yeah.
So when it's really tough, what keeps you going?
What keeps me going? Oh yeah, this is like, what is your why? And
Kind of, yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what is my why? My why is, like, I have 3 kids, and I told you I was working in a corporate job before, and I wanted to make a life change. And I didn't want my children to see, like, their mom and their dad waking up in the morning and just like shuffling their feet and going to work, and doing something that they didn't really love to do. And what was happening was, like, I love fitness, and I had a small Energie EnCorps existed still, but not like how it was today. But it was a small, tiny, like tiny little business. But all my passion was going into that. And I was like, on my breaks at work, on my lunchtime at work, I'm like working on like my Facebook page, working on like the marketing, and that was exciting for me, not my regular job. And it felt at one point that my regular job was getting in the way of like what I really wanted to do, right? So I wanted to show my children that you don't have to stay in the box. You don't have to stay in the box. You don't have to do, the traditional way, just like you, right? A little
Yeah.
bit about your story. But you don't have to do things the traditional way. You can go against the grain, even if your mom and dad don't agree sometimes. Even if the people around you think you're crazy because you're leaving a very cushy job that has a pension, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do? That you have one life, and you should take a calculated risk, not like a blind risk, but a
Yeah.
calculated risk. You plan it, and I think that that's the message that I want to show my children, that that life is supposed to be enjoyed, and if you can find that sweet spot. There's a Japanese word for it. I forgot what it is. It's like, I don't know. It's like akagi, or I don't know. I got to look it up. But there's this chart where it's like the intersection of,
Kaizen.
what is it called?
Kaizen,
What is it? I don't
right?
remember, but it's like the intersection of what you're good
It's
at,
a wheel.
what you love to do, and what you can make money from, and how you can help people. And if you can find that intersection in your life, then you're going to feel like balanced and at peace. And I think that I was totally off before. Like I was in that section of the diagram where it's like I was making very good money, but I wasn't really fulfilled. So
Mm-hmm.
I needed to make that shift. So that's pretty much why I do what I do. I mean, I love to help people, but I think at the end of the day, like the imprint that I'm going to leave, I just put a quote on Facebook today, but it's about that every thought, every word, every action that you make leaves an imprint. And if I could show my kids that, the things that I choose to do, like if I leave them with this vision of like, go for it. Like, I think that's important. Not to just,
That's awesome. I love it.
yeah. So that's it.
Well, I wanted to ask, how can people find you if they want to ask you questions, if they're local in Montreal or if they're international and they want you to come to um, have an
Um,
event in their city?
oh, that would be awesome. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there. But my goal for 2021 for next year is to start doing retreats elsewhere. I run a yoga teacher training school, and in the past 5 years, I've trained about 100 yoga teachers. And I wish I could have enough space for all of my yoga teachers at my little yoga studio, but I don't, right? So one thing that I would like to kind of work on going forward is to create, destination retreats. Working with, there's a lot of different places all over the world where there's already a retreat center there, and I could, send my teachers to organize retreats. So that's something that I want to do. And the other thing, I believe if you just put it out there, it's going to happen. And if you verbalize it and you write it down, I think that you're closer to manifesting that. So I'm going to do this as well. The other thing that I want to start doing is, I've been running teacher trainings for the past, this is going to be my 6th year. And I would like to be able to go to other cities and give some trainings, and just to get some more international experience. Yeah. So how do people find me? Your question is like, well, we're in Pointe Claire in Montreal. They can find me through the Facebook page that you put up before, but it's Energie EnCorps. It's in French, but it means energy in your body. There you go. That's it. And we have, if our internet or our website is just energieencorps.com. Thank you. Oh, look at you. You're so prepared. You're so prepared. Yeah. And our tagline, I bet you don't have our tagline. Our tagline is helping you shine. So that's what we try to do. And yeah, Yeah, and it's a lot more than just like the physical stuff, but like shining from the inside out is what we really try to do. Yeah.
And you really do. You shine all.
Thank you, Alex.
Well, well, Rozel, thanks a lot for getting on this live with me.
Mhm.
Thank you for your time.
It wasn't so bad.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I loved it. Did you like it?
Yeah, yeah, it was good. It was good. I was like, "Oof, how do I sit? How do I put my hair?" No. But it's I survived.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
happy to do this,
Well,
and I think it's something that yeah, we should do with more entrepreneurs. To support one another to help us get the story out, and I really believe that people will give business to people that they like, that
yeah.
they that they get to know, get to like, and get to trust. So I think this is a nice way to do it. So great initiative, Alex. I really appreciate it.